Thank you. First, I'd like to apologize for being a little late, and I'm going to also apologize for leaving right after our speech. But as you can probably imagine, we're at a very, very busy time during this campaign. Not only are we still trying to raise money and get our message out, but we are really working hard on trying to get our GOTV, which to get out the vote going, because we're lagging in that area, which I'll talk to in a minute. I wanted to talk, most of you guys heard me speak, hopefully, when we had our debate in the primaries, and we talked a lot about issues, and I responded to those, and if there's any other questions you guys want me to answer at the end of this, I can do that. But I thought I'd ask, the first thing I wanted to address is the fact that I was the only federal candidate in Southern Nevada that said they were going to stand behind Trump. And I'll give you my reasons why. And that was a good enough reason. I'll just leave it at that. No, look, there's two people that have any chance to become president of the United States, and one's Hillary Clinton and one's Donald Trump. And although many things Donald Trump says, it certainly makes me cringe, and I'm sure many of them make you cringe. But when you look at the vision he has for our country moving forward to the vision she has, and what her faults are, I cringe a heck of a lot more, and that's a nice word, thinking that she could possibly become president of the United States. Look at that server issue is one of the most corrupt issues in the history of our country, and I think we're at a point of almost a constitutional crisis where we have an Attorney General's office that is supposed to be independent from politics, an FBI office that's supposed to be independent from politics, and you see one collusion after another collusion where 70-some% of Americans feel she should have been indicted, but the FBI agent says he shouldn't, and the Attorney General can't make a decision because she was sitting on the plane talking to Bill Clinton about how their kids were going to be kicking the soccer ball around. The latest thing that came out is even more disturbing, and for you that don't know, but I know it was a WikiLeaks, and whoever exposed it was certainly a service to everybody. It's been exposed now that the governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, who was the finance chair for Hillary Clinton and also supported work on Bill Clinton's campaign, he raised $700,000 for a wife to run for the state senate, and guess what the wife's husband was? He was the FBI director that was later put in charge of the investigation of Hillary Clinton. I mean, have you ever heard of anything as crazy as that? You would think, first of all, if they're going to appoint him to be in charge of it after that money came out, he would recuse himself if he had the ethics that is required to be in that position, and he did. In a nutshell, there's so many things wrong with it. There's no way I could ever support or want that person to, and I'm talking about Hillary Clinton, to become president. That's why I didn't at all turn my back on Donald Trump. And I pray like that he can pull this thing off, and I'm different than some others, probably not, just like you guys here. I think he's got a chance. I look at the enthusiasm he has, at the crowds he has. I looked at, there's been 3 polls that have him either tied or ahead. 2 of them were considered the most accurate polls in the last election, but the mainstream media wants to ignore all that. That being said, I want to talk about my race for a second, and also ties into a little bit about Joe Heck's race, because many of you are very big supporters of Congressman Heck here and desperately want to see him elected. I'm running in a race that's really unique in that I don't think there's another candidate on the other side. At least I haven't seen her. She doesn't do anything to expose herself, talk about herself, or do anything to say why they should vote for her. They meaning the Democrat Party and herself, have made this a referendum to try to do a character assassination on myself and hope that there's enough voters out there that are going to say I'm not going to vote for him because of all the horrendous things that the Democrats and my opponent put on TV. I certainly hope that's not the case. We've been doing polling in the race, and we haven't been within a margin of error yet. I feel good about our opportunities. But I'll tell you what scares me. I haven't slept for the last 2 days, and it's because you guys are all letting us down out here. And I mean that. So you got a little shrug with your eyes, a little nervous. I'm going to be very honest with you right now. Congressional District 3 is underperforming by far of any district in the whole state. The Republican Party is down substantially in early voting, even more so than it was in 2012. That in itself is bad. But Congressional District 3 is underperforming the rest of the state by 6 percentage points, meaning the Democrats are voting at a 6% higher rate with respect to registration here in CD3 than Republicans are. And most of it is not so much that there's been more Democrats that have voted, we haven't got our Republicans out to vote. And you know, Congressman Heck, he's got an office that we're sharing, and we're here in Henderson, and we're trying to get people to get out and vote, and we're working on the GOTV. But anybody who understands the GOP and how its strengths work, they understand the Republican Women's Clubs are really the backbone of this party, and we rely upon you guys to get out there and really help and make this thing work. We need your help right now, because I'll tell you, if this doesn't change, we're all going down in CD3. Every one of the people that spoke here, if you're in CD3, you're going to be in the same boat as I am, and Joe Heck's going to go down. We need you guys to be on the phones. We need you to get your neighbors, your friends. You got to get them out to vote. You can't wait till election day. We are down. I forget the numbers. We are down. We're down almost 5,900 votes right now. At this time in 2012, Congressman Heck was down a little over 3,000 votes. So it's almost 2 to 1 for what it was. And now I understand the Democrats had Katy Perry come out, and some people actually like her and went and watch her. And then they also had Obama come out, and even fewer people like him. But that brought people to the polls, and obviously jumped the lead up some. But even yesterday, they still had a 6% voter registration. So what I'm asking you is, one, get whoever you know that's going to vote out to the polls and vote. Get it done right away. Get it done today if you possibly can. Because then once we can get them away, then we can start working on the heart of people to get the vote. And then if there's any time you guys have, come by one of the offices, or maybe you can call from home, call, walk, go out and get the voters there. Because the Democrats not only have the unions doing this, they have people coming in from California doing it. We're running against an uphill battle. And this is where our weaknesses are. I mean, does anybody honestly think Catherine Cortez has any chance to beat a guy like Joe Heck in a normal race? I mean, you guys, how many of you guys know who I'm running against? How many of you guys know the person's name? Be honest about it. Let me ask you this. I didn't ask you to say the name. Just ruin it for everybody. How many people don't know what her name is? Okay. Normally when I do that, I get about 30% of people, they say they don't even know her yet. I mean, again, I ran against some good candidates. I don't think she's one of them. This is a race both Joe and I should win, but we need the votes. We need the GOP people getting out and voting. We got to get those numbers closer. So that's what I had to say. If you have some questions or anything, I can answer them, but we really need your help.
Actually, I have a few questions for you, and she's a piece of work. Yes, I do have been following her. She is a piece of work. Okay. Let me ask you first on U.S. immigration policy. You have stated that you oppose amnesty. What specifically do you propose we do with 11.1 million authorized immigrants in the U.S.? Would you propose something different for those immigrants that have been here for at least 10 years, which is about 2/3 of that population?
Look, I'd like to take it a different direction if that's okay with you. How many of you feel we should have open borders? How many feel we should have secured borders? Okay, so that most people, even Democrats, most reasonable Democrats would agree. So we need to protect the borders. How many of you people think that we should allow people to come in our country legally if there's jobs that they could perform that are necessary, farm workers or other workers? Anybody disagree we should have easy access for people to come in and perform those jobs? I believe in that. So I think we should revise our immigration policies and allow people to come in the right way and not have to wait as long a period of time. How many people think that we should continue to allow cities to not enforce immigration laws? Virtually nobody does. We should get rid of sanctuary cities, and we can do that by eliminating the funding. The reason I'm saying, and then how many of you think we should allow anybody who's here and has committed crimes to stay here in our country? Okay, so we can agree on mostly all that. Maybe you guys can agree on my quick immigration changes where people can come in and work, but everything else you guys agree with. That leaves 8 million to 9 million people that are here illegally that you have to figure out what can you do with them. It's not feasible to think we're going to deport 11 million people, so that's not going to happen. It is also, I believe, unfair to say we're going to give those individuals a citizenship when they went ahead of everybody else who waited in line and did it the right way. So my feeling is after whatever period of time, and there's been some research done and some proposals done, at the end of the period of time we should provide a pathway to legal residency but not citizenship. That would solve all the immigration problems because we agree with all but basically one. But it isn't being solved because of a very simple reason. The Democrats don't want it solved because they can use it as a voting source in every election. I remember when Obama ran for presidency in 2008, he said the first thing he does in office, he's going to pass comprehensive immigration reform. He didn't even bring it up, even though he had control of Congress and the Senate, and he could have passed it as a signing off on the bill. They don't want it passed, and that's why we're in this issue year after year.
Next question is on education. You have stated that you oppose Common Core. Under what circumstances, if any, should the federal government be involved in education?
I think the financial aid issue is important. I think some of the Head Start programs they have, although that's being abused at this point, those things are important. I think there needs to be some type of standardized test, but not like they're doing with Common Core, because what happens is people are learning differently and they test differently, and that shouldn't be the primary requirement. But when I was growing up, we had the ACT test, the SAT test, which are national standardized tests, and I think we should have that. Besides that, the rest of the money that goes to education should be given back to the states and block grants, and allow each state to divvy it up to the different counties that are educating the children, and each county where they're closest to the kids can determine how best to use that funding.
Sorry, I'm going off.
Jackie.
Oh yeah, Jackie was calling me, saying, keep an eye on Danny and make sure he gets elected, because I...
Well, she said, keep me get it, don't mention my name.
Yes, well, we're going to say Danny, because we want you in there. Healthcare. Do you think there are any redeeming qualities to Obamacare? And if Hillary wins, what specifically can Republicans do to improve upon Obamacare, which is law?
I don't think if Hillary wins, we're going to be able to do anything with Obamacare. Hillary's position, I think, Obama's initial position it was, and my opponent has come out and said she loves Obamacare, that their position is have it fail so badly, but be so far down the road you can't do anything but have a one-payer system, which is basically socialized medicine. So if Hillary wins, I don't think there's going to be anything we can do about it.
That's scary. Social Security is the next topic. On your website, you stated that you support making reforms necessary to protect the long-term fiscal health of this critical program. Would you elaborate on what you mean by reforms? And also, do you support allowing individuals to divert a portion of their Social Security taxes into personal retirement accounts? And would you support reducing the eligibility requirements? If so, to what age?
Reducing eligibility requirements?
Reducing it.
I'm not reducing. No, I don't want to raise it. But let's talk about.
Yes.
Let's talk about the first thing is dealing with the younger kids. Let me make it simple so everybody understands, because my opponent has distorted this issue. For anybody that's on Social Security or close to being on Social Security, the 50s, mid-40s, maybe even down to the early 40s, we can't do anything to affect the promise that our country has made to all those individuals that have worked and have counted on this as part of their retirement. I will fight to preserve all the benefits without having any costs going up. For the people that are younger, now we're talking about younger people, I think they should have the option whether they want to be in Social Security program or maybe in a private retirement account like an IRA account or something else they have. You know, there's a lot of federal employees that aren't Social Security. They have their own pension plan. Why should they have it differently than all of us here if we want to? Give the person the option. It's an option. We're supposed to have a country of individual liberties and freedoms. Let each person choose what they want to do or not do. But again, it has to be with the younger people. Now, this is a simple solution. It's not a complete solution, but it looks. Social Security is going to go bankrupt in 18 years. Medicare is going to go bankrupt in 12 years. So if you don't do anything, whoever's on Social Security in 18 years is going to get nothing. And that's the position my opponent has said, because it's a safe position. Don't do anything. You can't do that. This is a simple position. I'd love to find out if anybody disagrees on this. When Social Security was passed in 1930, the life expectancy for a person was 19 years less than it is today. Yet, the eligibility for Social Security has not even gone up 2 full years. It's in the process of getting 2 full years. Why not? And again, not for the people close to eligibility or on eligibility. I'm talking about people in the 20s, maybe early 30s. You say, hey, you're living 19 years longer than you did when we passed this bill. Let's say your eligibility is a couple years higher. You can't get on it. What is it, 57 now or 59, based upon what you pick? Move it up 2 years. I mean, does anybody disagree with that? And it would keep Social Security solvent for another 10 years. And again, it's for younger people who can plan this way, so we don't do a surprise attack on people that are expecting their money coming right away.
Thank you. Next on national security. On your website you stated, I support a strong, secure border, smart immigration reform, and decisive leadership against ISIS and Al-Qaeda, both at home and abroad. What specifically would you propose as we deal with the continued threat to terrorism in the U.S.?
Well, I mentioned about having a secure border, and that's the first. The second thing is anybody who's coming in our country, particularly from areas where these type of terrorism is originating, and they've got to be fully vetted before we allow them to come in and become a legal resident or come into our country. If they can't be fully vetted, then we're taking a risk of allowing terrorism to spread in our country, and you see that with other refugees have gone into countries in Europe where they came in under the pretenses that they were refugees and they actually were ISIS people and they committed terrorist acts. So I would say until they're fully vetted, you can't let them come in. And then we need to take the fight to ISIS instead of sitting here today. And I'm not saying we go in with ourselves and go in and into Iraq and Syria and take out ISIS. But what would the problem working with all of them that have been affected by these terrorism acts, having a force come in and Syria and wipe out ISIS in Syria right now. But the bigger issue, the reason we don't do that is our president feels the bigger issue is not ISIS, it's Syria and Assad, which I think is a misplaced focus. Assad is not beheading Americans, committing these terrorist acts, not only around the world, but encouraging them here in the United States. We need to focus on ISIS. We need to do it with a uniform force around the country. And for Hillary and all those other people to say, how can you work with Putin? We worked with Stalin in World War II. Stalin was a pretty bad guy, wasn't he? But we had to take out Hitler. Well, we need to take out ISIS, who's pretty bad people.
Thank you very much.